Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
What is on your mind, Cayman? If you are ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Here's your host.
And good afternoon, Radio Cayman Nation, and a very happy Thursday to you. Thank you for tuning into your station of the nation, Radio Cayman. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. It has been a very busy November so far. Very fast year as well, 7 weeks left until 2025. But very grateful that the recent storm didn't do more damage than it could have. We're seeing it strengthen quite rapidly. And grateful to those in the sister islands for all the preparation efforts and all the work that went into keeping things at bay. With that note, we do have a full show lineup today from the Ministry of Health, the Youth Services Unit, and UCCI joining us later in the day. As always, we do welcome your stories and feedback and questions and invite you to join the conversation. Simply dial 949-6990 or WhatsApp us at 925-3261. Back with more talk today following this very brief disclaimer.
To avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
And now, back to Radio Cayman Talk Today.
Something. And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and very pleased to have in studio with us our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Nick Gent, and National Epidemiologist, Ms. Rachel Corbett. Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Good to see you again.
Good afternoon. You know, when I walked in the first time, Dr. Nick, the first time we actually met, and because it's near 2 years to the day.
It is.
Because it was at East End at the East End Heritage Day, and you were enjoying. You know, you were taking all the flavors of the day.
I was stood next to one of the one of the church's stalls that had done some rather good heavy cake and homemade ice cream, and you were questioning me what was the CMO doing eating this. And the answer was he was enjoying himself very, very much, and then caused a bit of a problem by saying, when you said it's good, I said, well, I'd expect so, because isn't the best food on the island in the East End? And I remember you going, oh, Doc, you cause war.
You caused some war on the airwaves.
Yeah, no, it was a great introduction, though, to Cayman. I mean, it was absolutely lovely. I think those Heritage Days, particularly all the school children coming out for them and so on,
absolutely
incredibly important. I mean, I learnt so much in those few hours, and felt at home so quickly. You know, it's one of those. You know, you went away with a good, warm, fuzzy feeling. Absolutely. And it was very nice for those other people who then sent in heavy cake saying, no, we make the best heavy cake and so on.
Did you get any from Cayman Brack?
No, I didn't.
Rachel, have you been able to catch any of the festivities for Heritage Days?
Yeah, in the past years, it's been great to get out to it. It's really nice to.
Can I put you in the hot spot then? Is there a better district for heavy cake?
Oh, I have to admit, I've only enjoyed heavy cake made by my colleagues at work. I haven't tried it across the districts yet, so my colleagues make some very good heavy cake.
I love it. All right, well, let's jump into the here to talk about the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. I know you've been on before discussing the particulars of the survey when it was going on, but for those who were not aware, what is the STEP survey?
Sure. So this is a survey that we ran last summer. It's developed by the World Health Organization, and it uses a very kind of standardized approach. So lots of different countries around the world have used it, and it means you can then compare your data because you've asked the same questions in the same way. But you can also then repeat it also within your own country and see how things are changing over time. And there's also flexibility in there to adapt things so that it works for your local setting. And what it's really aiming to do is understand the prevalence of risk factors for non-communicable diseases. So things we're thinking about are obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and what are the precursors, what are the risk factors that mean an individual might be more likely to develop those. So considering behavioural elements like diet and exercise, alcohol use, those kind of things. So the survey had a questionnaire where we'd ask people some of these questions, as well as their contact with healthcare services and what they knew of their health status. And then we'd also take some measurements ourselves, so we could compare that and say, okay, well, this is what the individual knows of their health status and this is what the measurements are telling us. So we took things like height and weight to look at BMI, blood pressure, blood cholesterol.
And as far as how the population size was of the survey? How many
Yeah.
people did we actually measure?
We did really well. I probably remember people hearing on the radio, we were struggling at the time to get people to take part, and I know, people give up a lot of their time for these things, and we're really grateful. So we had just under 2,000 participants,
That's
which is
fantastic.
excellent. Yeah, we
Fantastic.
then means we have data which is nationally representative, which is what we were looking to do. And by going out and knocking on people's doors and trying to get this random sample of the population, it means that we have information across the population, across all 3 islands, and we also capture people who aren't regularly in contact with healthcare services. If we were just to look at data that comes from the
Sure.
clinics and that sort of
Sure.
thing, we'd be missing a really important demographic. So that's why we were kind of going out in the community and doing it that way.
Dr. Nick, anything to throw on there before we jump into?
Yeah, no, I just acknowledge that Miss Rachel, the committee that helped support her developing it, all the enumerators, the nurses, everybody who was involved with it. It was a big undertaking, and Miss Rachel's been beavering away doing the analyses on this for months and doing the write up. And I just thank everybody. Particularly thank all of those people who gave up their time, opened their doors to us, and particularly those of them who then offered a finger.
Yeah, definitely.
To have, because that's the first time we've had representative data on a blood test. So that really hard, information on cholesterol and blood sugar levels.
Sure.
So that was a special success of this.
And then as far as the history of this, you mentioned it was World Health Organization test or survey, that's done globally. When was the last time this survey has been done in Cayman?
Yeah, so it's been done once before in 2012. So we were, and we were still using that data whenever anybody contacted me to say, can you tell us about obesity in the Cayman Islands? We'd be going back to data from 10 years ago. So that's in part what really prompted us to say we need to do this again. We need to, while we think anecdotally we know what some of the challenges are in the community, we really need to have data behind this so that we can then take it to policy, take it to government and say, this is where we're at right now. This is what hasn't changed, and what are we going to collectively do about it?
And was the only difference between the two surveys the finger prick?
They did do it. They did include it in the survey in 2012.
Oh,
they weren't looking at cholesterol. They were looking at blood sugar. But the uptake for it is really challenging.
Yeah.
And they, unfortunately, at the time just didn't get enough people who did that part to use the data to be nationally representative.
Okay.
I understand, people are scared of injections, and it was a very small finger prick, but there's a lot of hesitancy, understandably, around it. So
Anything invasive.
yeah, but
you can see how tall I am. But don't go poking me, right?
Oh, yeah. If you ever stick a needle into somebody, make sure if it's a man, they're lying down, because lots of them will end up lying down, whether you like it or not. Women
Took me a second. Like, what are we?
women can have a baby in both arms and just stick the needle in their doc and don't worry about it and carry on. But men, no, bang, they go down. So yeah.
Have you seen a lot of fainters?
Oh, when I was doing more clinical practice, yeah. Well, they say you just make sure men are lying down, then they don't faint. But a precaution born out of early experience when our £350 farmer who said, just stick my flu injection in, I don't need to sit down. I was unwise enough to do it, and he fell across me, and I was...
Lesson learned very quickly.
Yeah, I learned. But yeah, no, seriously, really, really good, because I say representative data is so important, and it is missing from elsewhere. The other thing is that because it's a standardized survey with a few local add-ons, the standardized core of it, we can go to WHO database for lots of other islands in the Caribbean, lots of other countries, and we can compare ourselves. So we've both got this geographic comparator now, and we have got some longitudinal data, across time. So this is critically important, because there's so little other data that we can use.
And then just before we go to commercial break, to clarify, this survey was strictly for the over 18 population.
Yeah, so we included anybody who was resident, and we used the same definition as the census, so people that have lived here for 6 months or planning to, so both Caymanians and non-Caymanians. And then the other criteria was between the ages of 18 to 69 years.
Okay, fantastic. On that note, let's go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll take a little dive into the actual survey findings.
Brilliant.
Back with more Talk Today right after this.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walker's Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walker's Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Pleased again, in case you're just tuning in, to have in studio our CMO, Dr. Nick Gent, and National Epidemiologist, Miss Rachel Corbett. We've been discussing the recent STEP 2023 National Health Survey, and today going to be diving into some of the results of that survey. So, folks, right back to you. Walk us through some of the results of it.
A quick overview is there's a lot of data here. a huge amount of data. The data book will be coming out, say, in December, and Mr. Rachel will talk about that. But we're talking about the headlines today. Real worrying thing is that the number of people who have got multiple risk factors for their future health status is very concerning. 3 or 4 risk factors, 30-40% of the population have those, established from quite early in life. There are some things that won't surprise, that we're very, very worried about the rates of people being overweight or frankly obese. And that hasn't changed over the 12 years since the last survey. And it would be very difficult for us to have even higher proportions of people who are overweight or obese. It really is of quite extreme proportions. But the knock-ons from that, that we're seeing in terms of hypertension and diabetes, and in particular the issues about undetected or detected or untreated disease, were very, very concerning to us. But there's also a lot of lifestyle things in there that around tobacco use, a little bit lower than it was, and we're doing very well on that. But the problems that's being replaced, because the nicotine sellers are out there, and as soon as you down on the tobacco use, they invent a new product, the nicotine vape, and particularly the take-up of nicotine vaping by children is a very, very significant problem, and there's lots of things around. But we should go into. So that's the whole of
the headlines.
Top line. Don't know which ones you'd like to take first. Maybe we should look at the lifestyle things, because they're the determinants. But before we close the show, I'd really like to talk about the issues about access to healthcare as well.
Sure, absolutely.
And things we found about poverty. But if we look at the diet stuff, people clearly like the food, but they only like certain types of food. And when we're looking at the average number of servings of vegetables or fruit and vegetables consumed per day, that's 1. And it should be about 5 to have a healthy, balanced diet. And that's important. And I keep having to tell people, remember, potatoes not a fruit or vegetable for these purposes. So probably for a lot of people, they're not even having any. Sure. I do understand problems, access costs, things like that. But the unhealthy foods that are being eaten, the highly processed foods, high in salt and so on, all those favourite names that you see driving down the road, serving the rapid takeaways, that's really ingrained with people. 20-odd% of people regularly eating unhealthy foods. And
what does regularly mean in this scope here?
Sure. So we asked a series of questions, particularly around the salt consumption, and the question would be phrased: do you often or always eat foods, highly processed foods that have a lot of salt? So that was that question.
So like a daily kind of frequency?
Yeah.
We are seeing people, and although we didn't quantify how much they're eating, we do know from observational stuff that they're not eating 1 or 2 portions; they're eating multiple portions.
Sure.
And that's quite worrying, and particularly ingrained as family habit is where we're worrying that's going, because we think that the habit in the adults is being very much followed by the children, and separate survey data on weight in children entering their secondary schools. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I think it's about 40% overweight or obese.
Entering secondary school.
Yeah, so we know the problems are ingrained at family level very, very early on.
You mentioned earlier before the show that school survey takes going in at reception and then at high school.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing that same percentage at reception?
So it's definitely lower at reception, and it does increase over that kind of school duration.
Sure.
So yeah, it's
so
definitely
those habits are being reinforced really early.
Yeah, really early, and that's the thing with a lot of things in life, isn't it? It's upbringing, and it's what you're kind of used to when you're young has a huge impact.
Sure.
On the rest of your life, and kind of what you even subconsciously viewed to be as norms and things. Behavior is
Absolutely.
ingrained over time. And there was as an aside, there was an interesting report I saw coming out from the UK recently of children that have sugar in the first 1,000 days, so kind of looking at the first 3 to 4 years of life, being much more likely to develop diabetes when they're older and adults. And it's just that the common theme of what children experience in those early years is so formative. And so, absolutely. Even though this wasn't looking at under 18s, we very much are viewing, what we do next as looking across society, and schools play a very big role in that.
Again, it's very interesting comparing the foodstuffs that are available in Cayman, Caribbean more generally, and certainly are very much a normative that is derived from the US, where we import a lot of things from. Is that if we looked at the ingredients content on what purports to be the same product bought in Europe or bought in the US and therefore available in the Cayman Islands, they're actually under the surface, when you look at the ingredients list, very, very different.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd never before come across foods that always seem to be always in the ingredients list has high fructose corn syrup, and you just look at it and go, why? What's the point of this? I've never ever come across bread having sugar. Ordinary bread having sugar content. It's really extremely strange to me. And so that we've got the two or three problems there that surrounding the obesity and the nutrition issue. I am aware of cost issues, but also if all we're doing is importing stuff that is unhealthy from the beginning, but people don't understand that it's unhealthy, and don't have, and I'm not speaking down to people, but to read an ingredients label and understand is that healthy or not is quite complex.
I'm very time consuming. When you're in the supermarket, you haven't got time to pick up every single product and read through this list of tiny small print ingredients and figure out,
It's how you have to, you either got to force yourself to do it.
Yeah.
Or,
exactly.
So can I ask a question then? So you mentioned the UK versus the US. Same product, different ingredients.
Yeah.
Is that because of legislation in the UK?
It's in part because of things like food labelling, calorie labelling in menus and so on, is producing a very different environment. But also I think the ingrained tastes are different. People around Europe in general are used to a lot less salt in things, and they certainly are used to a lot less sugar in things. But hey, we're where we are, but we've got to change it.
Sure.
I mean, what people can control themselves is portion size, but what the food retailers and the big fast food franchises can do is also equally important. And one of the recommendations we've made, or you'll be seeing in our full report, is that we really as a country need to look at food labelling. We need to empower people. If you take something off the shelf that's got like a CARICOM standard label on, which is a big black oxygen saying high in fat, high in sugar, whatever, I'm making a positive choice of, hey, yeah, I don't mind. I'm perfectly happy to take risk with high fat, high sugar stuff. That's fine. But we've given you the chance to make a choice. All the big franchises, they know, because these are international products, they know what the calories are in the materials that they're importing, and in many countries legislation requires them to put that on the menus. Now we're a caring country. We shouldn't need to go to legislation, but the big franchise people, you can label that up, and you should be thinking about your customers and thinking, can I give them the options to have a healthier choice if they're coming here? Because there's things that often get hidden away. There can be a big change in the calorie count because you have the barbecue version of it, because the barbecue version of it almost certainly contains a lot of caramelized sugar. You think you're having the healthy option of having the salad, but you don't realize how many calories are going to come with that particular salad dressing. So you might think, I want to change that, and I want to have something. But we've got to enable, give people the tools and the skills. So I'd love the retailers and I'd love the big franchise people to be coming and saying, yeah, we want to be good citizens. Let's not have to come to legislation.
Sure.
We should be doing this because we care about our people, and we'd love to have that conversation with them.
It's an interesting one for sure. And there's a lot to unpack in all of that. There really is, because we're only talking about one sliver of your entire survey here, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's so much here.
And that's the
we could do a show on every page. It really is a treasury of stuff, because remember, this is not the data owned by Miss Rachel and me. It's not the data owned by the ministry or the government. This is Cayman Islands people's data, for them to look at themselves and say, do we like what we see? If not, what do we change and what should we change? And this is a tool for everybody, because this public health stuff, it's not Ministry of Health. There are things, even if we just look at government, there's the stuff there for Ministry of Education, so the schools. We've already talked about how influential schools are and how important they are as an environment to, to learn the best habits to protect ourselves for the future. But there's, Ministry of Sport. There's so many ministries that can be thinking about what their contribution are. And in 2 weeks' time, we're doing a big presentation across government. So all the different ministries have got it in their minds what it is that we should have as common targets. But also community groups, everybody, church groups, whoever, because supporting ourselves. Take weight loss. Do it on your own. It's hard work. I can tell you. I've been there. I've done that. I lost 100 pounds, and I can tell you it was murder on my own. But support groups, people working together, families working together, saying, hey, why are we using the plates this big? Let's get some small plates. And let's not pile them up this big. But, let's have sense. Let's all work together. Then it becomes a lot easier.
It does. No, it does. On that note, let's go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll dive. Nope, we won't. We'll stay on. Yep, we'll stay on. Nope, let's go to commercial break.
I hope I've not lost you some
sponsors. Nope, I have lost. No, it's all good. So on that, let's stay with the show. The dive. So we've talked about the weight side of things and eating side of things. Where were the other elements of the survey that really raised some red flags?
I think Miss Rachel giving us a rundown on what we found with hypertension and diabetes would be a good intro.
Yeah, this was a really interesting part, and I think, if anything, kind of there wasn't many surprises in the data, but this was a really interesting part for us to see actually in the numbers. So, as I mentioned, we took some measurements ourselves as well as asked questions. So we were able to look at the data and found that 30% of the population either have raised blood pressure or are taking medication to treat it. And then we asked them questions about whether they were aware of this in the questionnaire, whether they were on treatment and that sort of thing. And what we found was that 35% of that group were undiagnosed. They weren't aware of having raised blood pressure. And 50% of that group were on treatment. So there's a big proportion there that aren't on treatment at all. And only 27% were on treatment that was actually effectively controlling their raised blood pressure. So this was a really interesting snapshot to see kind of along the care pathway of individuals who have this issue, how many of them know about it, and of that, how many are actually engaging with their healthcare services and able to get treatment, and of that, how many it's actually working for, or the gap that we've got there is they're not actually receiving the right care that they need. So this is really helpful for us to say, okay, well then we've got some clear points where we know we need to make some changes to reach those groups in different ways, make sure that people have access to care in different ways that can prevent whatever barriers are happening at this point. And something that's come up out of the data that we view to be a likely barrier here is around costs. So we also asked in kind of our demographics section about household income. So how much money did that household as a whole earn over the year? And we found 20% of the population to earn less than $15,000 in a year, which is a very low amount of money for living in the Cayman Islands, and another 20% kind of earning up to 30,000. So overall, you've got 40% of your population having an annual income of $30,000 or less, and I think that really will show where people are struggling to put money towards healthcare costs because they're just trying to get by.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really interesting to look at the cost of the care pathways, because when I talk to a lot of doctors about, say, management of high blood pressure, hypertension, and they talk to me about their practice standard, about this is good practice, this is what we do, and taking blood pressure is simple. You can go and buy a machine for a relatively low cost, and they've got good high level of accuracy. If you use the ones that go around the upper arm, not the ones that go around the wrist, but the ones around the upper arm, and you can document your blood pressure morning and evening and so on, and you know clearly you're hypertensive. But then when you go to a doctor whose standard of care says, but I want blood taken for a metabolic profile, full blood count, lipids, and I want a chest x-ray, I want an ECG, I want that person from one of those households, they get given the forms to take to the, to the person to take the blood and go and everything else, and they just go, no, can't afford it. They walk out, and they don't come back. And yet, the cost of the treatment for what was clearly evident from a simple quick measurement is around between 30, depending on, whether you need 1, 2 or 3 tablets, between 30 and 60 cents a day. That's what we're buying those medicines in for, nationally. So the cost of care is actually very, very low, but the burden of cost in terms of diagnosis and that supervision of management, and we've got to ask ourselves, is that necessary? And we're looking around at, for instance, the Pan American Health Organization HEARTS program that has a system for clinical standard of care which is quick, simple, and what's more, we can deliver it probably, now we've got the new pharmacy law, through people we can give rights to prescribe who, specialist nurses, pharmacists and others who can provide a continuity of care that we're not otherwise able to give, and we need to think about how that's funded. So there's got to be some discussions with insurance companies and various others so how we can do that, but it's in our long-term interest to get that kind of a program in.
So much of that to unpack here. On that note, let's go to a quick commercial break here. When we come back, so much to talk about. Back with more talk today, right after this.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Protect your computers and mobile devices with security software to defend against cyber attacks through viruses, malware, and other online threats. Be aware of unsecure Wi-Fi connections when in public. If you need to access your online banking or sensitive information on your mobile devices, try disabling the Wi-Fi and switching to data from your mobile network. If you suspect a fraud attempt, please contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
a caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Prescription refills made easy at Savannah Pharmacy. WhatsApp your prescription refills to 929-5045.
The STEPS National Health Survey results indicate that the Cayman residents spent 50% more time in sedentary activity in 2023 than in 2012. The World Health Organization recommends 30 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity per day for adults. With Pirates Week around the corner, start today. Park a little further from the events and get a few more steps in. To learn more, log on to www.gov.ky/steps. Let's step into wellness together, Cayman.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Just a few minutes left in our current segment with our CMO, Dr. Nick Gent, and National Epidemiologist, Ms. Rachel Corbett. So only a handful of minutes left here. And we have a huge topic here which we've tried to unpack just a small fraction of today. But really quickly, I know it's an important element. Dive into the vaping issue very quickly, if you don't mind, and what we're seeing in those results.
Please, because it's worrying me. We've been doing so well about reduction in tobacco consumption. Still too many men smoking, about 10-12% of the population smoking, but it's about 3-to-1 men to women smoking, and we need to get on top of that. But the nicotine producers, tobacco companies, they sell nicotine. Let's not beat about the bush. They're not selling some image of great, living on the plains in America. They're selling a high hazard product that kills people. But underneath it, it's the nicotine. That's what keeps people there, coming back to their products. And now that we're being so successful about reducing tobacco, they've turned to selling nicotine in another way, and that is through vapes. Now, let's be clear. People seem to hear that vapes are safe. They are not. They are safer than tobacco, but tobacco is very, very high risk. So it's not hard to be safer than that. And the only thing I will endorse the use of nicotine vapes for are for people coming off tobacco products, needing help with the nicotine addiction which is behind the use of tobacco, and helping to replace that with something that is safer. But nicotine vapes aren't safe. Nicotine is a very, very active drug. It's psychoactive, hence the addiction, but it also has big effects on the cardiovascular physiology. It drives the heart, it drives the heart rate up, and it is not doing so in a healthy way. And we've only now starting to see some of the longer studies that saying actually things like your exercise tolerance and cardiovascular health deteriorate just as badly with tobacco as with nicotine vapes. Now the problem is nicotine vapes are being taken up by children, and they're taken up by young people. We're seeing this all reported back from the schools, from the National Drugs Council, and we're seeing nicotine vape products that frankly I believe are targeted at children. A disposable pink sparkly bubblegum flavoured vape is not targeted as a 40-50-year-old man that's coming off tobacco products. These seem to me to be targeted products, and children are getting addicted to them. Addiction with something like nicotine occurs within 1 to 2 days of start of use, and I really believe that we're going to have to do something to prevent our children getting addicted to what is going to be in the longer term a dangerous product. And it's here now. It may almost be too late, looking at the reports that we're getting back about how frequently children are using vapes. I hope not, but I think as a country we care about our children, we care about our families, and I think we've got to take hold of this problem very, very quickly. And I want that message out there to parents. Don't, it's something you need to sit down with your kids and say, please don't. I know there's a load of social pressure there, but please, we love you and we want you to grow up healthy. And this is not a choice that we want you to make. Keep this is one thing you've got to try and keep clean, but don't be persuaded by your mates. It's not cool and it's not good for you.
Very powerful there. We only have about 30 seconds left. Ms. Rachel, if you don't mind, where can the public find this survey, the results, and all the information about what is being done about this survey?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be releasing on the 1st of December all of our report and the accompanying things. So there'll be a full report if someone wants to read and have the interpretation and some narrative alongside it. That will be there. We'll also have a fact sheet so you can look at the kind of key headline data at a quick glance. Some infographics to help be a bit more visual if that's kind of how you engage a bit more. And as we've mentioned, all the data tables will be there too. So if you want to dig a bit more into the numbers, look by men or women or 2 different age groups, then that will all be up on our website, which is www.gov.ky/steps.
Dr. Gent, Miss Rachel, thank you so much for coming in. I do appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of this this important work. It's going to shape the next 12 years, right?
We hope so.
We hope so.
That's the plan.
You.
Thanks so much.
On that note, let's head over to our 1 p.m. headline news. When we come back, we'll be sitting down with the Youth Services Unit, Inclusion Cayman, and the NDC.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With a look at your latest headlines, I'm Jevi Ebanks. The Department of Education Services will be closed for a staff activity this Friday, the 8th of November. Regular operations will resume at 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, the 12th of November. The DES apologizes for any inconvenience caused by the closure. In regional news, Bahamas Prime Minister Philip Davis introduced the domestic minimum top-up tax bill, targeting multinational corporations earning over 750 million euros annually to generate up to $140 million. This tax, the first corporate income tax in the Bahamas, aims to raise revenue without impacting Bahamian businesses or the public. The initiative aligns with the global OECD push for a 15% minimum corporate tax rate, preventing profit shifting. The funds will strengthen the government's finances and support key programs for Bahamians. Trinidad and Tobago has welcomed Air Canada's decision to resume direct flights from Canada starting the 1st of May 2025 after a pandemic-related suspension. Tourism Minister Randall Mitchell highlighted the significance of this announcement for tourism, trade, and cultural exchange. The 4 times weekly flight will enhance connectivity using Boeing's 737 MAX 8. The government sees the restored Airlink as a milestone for trade and tourism, boosting Canadian visitor numbers and supporting businesses and investment opportunities. That is your latest headlines. I'm Jevi Ebanks.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Historically, Caymanians have always had a strong connection to the sea, as it provided career opportunities, food supply, means of travel, and communication with the rest of the world. Caymanian sailors became renowned worldwide for being skilled navigators, shipbuilders, fishermen, merchants, and soldiers. A vast amount of Caymanian mariners were employed by Daniel K. Lugwood's Giant Shipping Line, national boat carriers. This career impacted Caymanian communities at large. One such story was that of the last voyage of the St. Clair petrol vessel, which exploded whilst at sea on December 6, 1960, with 29 Caymanians on board. The final trip started in November 1960 from Marcus Hook in Philadelphia via the Suez Canal on to Ras Tanura in the Persian Gulf. The ship was 789 feet long, could carry 56,000 tons of cargo, and was powered by a General Electric steam engine, 26,000 horsepower. The vessel was a unique one in that it was a self-unloading oil ore carrier and could carry both solid and liquid cargo at the same time.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Again, a big appreciation to our CMO, Dr. Nick Gent, and National Epidemiologist, Miss Rachel, who are here discussing the recent STEP survey. Now in studio, no stranger to Talk Today, Mr. James Miles from the Youth Services Unit. We're also joined by Mr. Nathan from Inclusion Cayman and Miss Layla from the NDC. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon.
Happy Thursday.
Hey, happy Youth Work Week.
Happy Youth Work Week. Put me in my place right off the bat. I love it.
Yeah, it's almost done.
It's almost done.
Yeah.
So
it was clouded by Raphael.
It was clouded by
Raphael. It was a rough young man.
It was
came through to ruin our Youth Work Week.
It's been a week. It's been a week for the world.
The
world, kind of went, this whole week, and then now we're back, kind of getting back into the swing of things. And so we're here talking about Youth Work Week.
Yes, it's celebrated all over the Commonwealth. It's
which
Commonwealth
I'd never
Youth
heard
Work.
about until I was reading the documents today. But before we jump into Youth Work Week itself, Jen, not to jump past you, but you've been on the show plenty. We know about the YSU and a lot of it.
Yeah.
I do want to hear a bit about Layla, your role, because you're with the NDC. So we know that's the National Drug Council, no stranger to Radio Cayman. But Layla, tell us a bit about yourself before we jump into the whole Youth Work Week.
Sure, for sure. Thanks for having the NDC represented here for Youth Work Week. So my name is Layla. I'm from the National Drug Council. I work there in the capacity of the research analyst. So my role involves engaging a lot of the research pieces that we do, primarily survey research in the schools with young people. But the organization as a whole is really focused on prevention work in terms of youth substance use prevention.
Awesome. Thank you. And Nathan, Inclusion Cayman. Tell us a bit about Inclusion Cayman for those who may not be aware of it, and your role at Inclusion Cayman.
So
Thank you for having us. My name is Nathan Chesney. I'm an inclusion facilitator, part of the small inclusion team. We're a small but mighty team dedicated to advocating for persons with disabilities in our community, and that's mainly across 3 pillars such as community life, education, and employment.
Community, education, and employment. All right. Thank you. All right. Now that we have, the formalities out of the way, Jamal, tell us all about you.
Oh. That may take a long time, my friend. Anyhow, again, Happy Youth Work Week. It is something that's celebrated around the Commonwealth. The theme is always shared with us from the UK, the National Youth Organization in the UK. The theme this year is a right to youth work for all, delivering positive futures for young people. And this is the reason why we have different agencies around the table today. NDC and their research helps to chart a path for youth development in Cayman. A lot of the findings that come out of their surveys and their research bits help drive programming for young people. Why we have Inclusion Cayman is because of the theme about including and having a future for all youth. It includes all youth, and we try to make a point to have Inclusion Cayman here because of the unique offerings that they have for our community. They are making sure that our differently abled are included in all areas of our society, and that they benefited from all of it.
Sure.
So we wanted to try to show the scope of youth work, and it touched every single household in the Cayman Islands, in the Commonwealth, and around the world, because youth work starts at home. If you have a young person in the home and you're a parent, you are a youth worker.
I was going to say, because the parents were last, the parents were last on this list, and I went, oh, wait a second.
No, might be last on this list, but not on my list.
Yeah, I was
not on my list.
When I was reading I was actually going, wait a second. The parents are the last ones really on the list. But I get it.
And I think why is because we wanted to try to focus on all the other help that parents get from the community.
The unforced labor. We're forced into it,
right? well, you made it for yourself as a parent, right?
I love it.
You created your own work for you by sharing and pouring yourself into your offspring, which is a great thing.
Yeah. So just to clarify, because it's Youth Work Week, what we're actually celebrating within this week is those who work in the youth services field.
Right.
In some capacity. Whatever capacity that might be, from teachers to
coaches,
mentors, you name it.
It's a broad spectrum that is celebrated greatly around the Commonwealth.
Sure.
We kind of got clouded this week because of hurricane preparations and everything else. And in Cayman, November, the week that Youth Work Week always has to do with Remembrance Day celebrations or Pirates Week or so it is one of those celebrations that are quietly done just youth workers holding on, and a lot of young people, people that work with young people, don't really go around tooting their horn. So this is an opportunity for the Youth Services Unit to toot the horn of those who actually help with youth development in Cayman. And we only have 2 of many organizations around the table today, but what they offer are unique offerings to help the youth movement move forward with everybody included. And so this is why we really wanted to focus on these 2 organizations for the next hour and to see how they contribute to our society. And NDC been around quite a long time. It's about 25 years now, 25 years.
We're in our 26th year now.
26 years.
And Inclusion Cayman in some form been around at least about 12 or 13.
We started as the Special Needs Foundation, and then we rebranded to Inclusion Cayman around 2019. So we have a new name, but the mission is the same.
Exactly.
I had no idea.
Yes, ma'am.
2 things I learned in this one segment.
You see,
I didn't realize you
make
were
a pause for 1 second, let that soak in.
I know. Listen, I like to learn something on every single show, right? This is 2 in 1 segment.
Yep. Yeah, you'll learn a little bit more too.
Yeah, no, and I hope everyone in the community will as well. Well, in that case, thanks for sharing on the what the purpose of the actual Youth Work Week is. And let's say we're going to focus on 2 groups today, but as you said, this is an overall encompassing. It includes the nannies that are out there.
Yes.
Parents, number 1, top of that list. Teachers, social workers,
Yep.
You name it. Anyone who has an active interest in the welfare and well-being of kids.
Yeah, and the thing is, within the Commonwealth, 60% and climbing is under the age, are in the youth category. So these persons touch the lives of 60% of the Commonwealth.
60%. Oh, okay, sorry. 60% of the Commonwealth falls under
all
18.
all Commonwealth nations.
Mhm.
60% of them are considered youth.
Under the age of 18.
They're under the age of 25.
Oh, okay. That's an old youth. All right.
So,
That's a lot of people.
eh?
Yeah.
So we're talking about people who deal with more than half of the population of the Commonwealth, which is almost half of the population of the globe, because Commonwealth includes India
Mhm.
and Bangladesh and all these other countries that are very populous. A lot of
No,
African nations.
There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it.
And if you really was to focus on the contributions all youth workers do, it is the driving force of any nation building. It is the driving force of any economic growth, and it is the driving force of any kind of stability. So I want to take every hat that I wear off to all those who pour into young people all over the Commonwealth this week. And while my voice was suppressed because of Hurricane Raphael, today we get that opportunity. So on behalf of the Youth Services Unit, the government of the Cayman Islands, and the people of the Cayman Islands that would want me to represent them, thank you all youth workers for what you do. All the coaches who have touched the lives of young people, not only now but in the past, which includes Ray. I remember when Ray first came on 20 years ago.
Almost 20 years ago now, yeah. 19 years ago, yeah.
Came with an idea about roller skating, like roller blading, like hockey. I don't know if anybody would want to do that, but I see some people skating. I see some young people on skateboards, and so there's some room for your sport. Let me show you around to some people that'll help you connect to young people. And sure enough, Cayman got a hockey team, roller hockey team, roller hockey league. And young people are empowered in a whole different way and keep them fit. So I know Dr. Gent on just now, and talked about...
It's true story. My first week here, Jamal picked me up from Kings, drove me around Bottomtown to the different churches, different areas to see what the different youth areas were like, because my background was in youth sports development.
Yeah.
And that's a true story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But that is what is needed to keep our society fit, to keep them moving, keep them healthy, keep them productive. Like I say, anybody that pours into any young person helps with nation stability, nation growth, and economic growth. And if you stop doing it, our country dies. Thank you.
It's very, very proper words. On that note, then, let's jump right over to NDC. Layla, NDC is no stranger to Radio Cayman. But what are the programs currently on offer from the NDC that really benefit kids today?
Sure, great. So NDC, a lot of our work primarily deals with youth and young people. A big part of that involves the work that we do in schools. So we offer drug education through what's called our research-informed student education, or our RISE programming for short.
What's the research?
Research-informed student education. So as Mr. Jamal mentioned earlier, research is also a very big part of the organization, and it plays a very big role in informing the work that we do. So we're always operating from a data-informed standpoint. And we are very lucky and blessed to have local data that's able to inform the work that we do as well. So we're really hearing the voices of our youth and our young people, and to have that be reflected in our services. So the RISE programming, that plays one of the biggest parts of the NDC. We also offer our Youth to Youth program, which is an after-school program for young people at both year 6 for the primary school, and then year 7 through to year 11 at the high school. And that after-school program focuses on leadership development and encouraging young people to have fun in a drug-free manner. So that's both. Those are the two.
So is the RISE program similar to what I would have had in the DARE program growing up? Is that like the DARE program was the program that people came in and taught not to do drugs, dare not to do drugs. Is that similar in that regard?
It's similar, but it's also very different. So DARE programming is no longer used in a lot of jurisdictions anymore. We've changed the way that we deliver drug education to shift away from sort of scare tactics to focusing more on giving young people facts so they can make informed decisions. And that's the primary focus now of drug prevention.
And just putting this question out because I know the research behind the DARE program. Not many actually do actually. So the DARE program, when they did follow-up research later on, they actually realized that the DARE program had actually, by accident, encouraged drug use by showing access to. It was the first bit of introduction to any bit of it, right? So obviously, the DARE program didn't start with the way to enhance drug use in youth, but it became that by default or by accident.
Interesting.
And that's why so many jurisdictions have done away with it because they didn't realize it was going to. They thought they were scaring kids into it, but it wasn't working that way. They were actually introducing them at their first time in a safe environment, like a school, to these different products. And then they go on, they hear about, they hear the older cousin talking about something, or they see it on a movie, or they see a commercial, and the connections were already made.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So it was an interesting one on the DARE program.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, to see where the research is in the next 10 years, 20 years on the current, because what you do today affects your results in 10 years, right? You're seeing the results of your work 10 years ago, and whether that's lower or whatever it might be. And the youth to youth program.
Yes.
How many kids do you have involved in that program, and who actually puts on that program?
So the lead at NDC that leads that is Miss Angela Seeley, who is no stranger to youth work at all, and working with youth and young people. The program, we have, I believe, a few chapters at different schools, so I'm not sure how many students are involved across all of the chapters, but I am familiar that we've had a chapter at Cayman Academy, and we've also had one at John Gray and I believe Clifton Hunter High School.
All right, so those are your two primary programs, along with the survey that's done
every 2 years.
For youth and young people, we also have programming or presentations that we offer for parents as well. And the NDC, this year especially, we've been trying to make a really concerted effort in attracting the parents and trusted adults in general to start talking about their role in youth substance use prevention and getting education pieces out there for, some of the changing trends that we are seeing in terms of youth substance use today.
Are you able to dive a bit into those changes today, or would you rather wait for another day to jump into those?
Well, no, sure, we can. The two largest trends that we're seeing, of course, I think Dr. Gent spoke about this a little bit earlier, is youth e-cigarette use and teen vaping, which has just grown tremendously all over the globe. It's not a phenomenon unique to Cayman by any means, as well as a change in the types of marijuana products that youth and young people are using. So we are seeing a shift away from smoking marijuana flower towards the use of more edible products. So our apparently speaking presentation, that's what it's called for parents, really provides information for them to understand the changes in these trends, how the trends impact the health of young people, and best practices for having these sort of conversations with their children about the dangers and realities of substance use.
Great, thank you.
Thank you too.
Yeah, great. So those are the two primary ones, and then the survey. Fantastic. No, that's great. Thank you. All right, let's switch it over to Inclusion Cayman.
Yes, sir.
All right, not to leave you waiting for so long. Sorry. We just want to make sure we cover everybody here. So, Nathan, walk us through Inclusion Cayman. I know you mentioned you are the rebranded version of the Special Needs Foundation. So walk us through what programs you currently have in